All right. So the live stream is preparing. So everyone, hi, this is Tyler Matthews. I'm the Executive Director for Venture Cafe St. Louis. So welcome to another episode of Venture Cafe Live. This is a series that where we interview different makers, doers, entrepreneurs that are in the St. Louis community, whether they're expats or transplants or locals. We want to make sure that we're highlighting the stories that are happening by those who are impacting the St. Louis region one way or another. So today I'm excited to have Bryon Pierson with us today, and he's going to talk a little bit about EDUrain. I've had the pleasure of knowing Bryon for a little while now, I guess a couple of years, and through Venture Cafe. And I was impressed by just, I guess, the tenacity. He's had to make a few tweaks over the course of the last couple of years. And, entrepreneurship is hard. And if you don't have the stomach for, or the patience for, sticking it out, there's not a lot of hope for you. But if, half of this game really is around how you can, have enough grit to stick it through. And even when things look bad, to keep going. And so I wanted to have Bryon come today and share a little bit about the story he's had to get where he is today. And also, congrats, by the way. I know you were recently brought into what is it? Is it Impact Ventures out of Dallas, I think?
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, so a little bit about that journey, and then some of the, how important some of those things are, the resiliency, et cetera, to getting where you are today. So without any further ado, Bryon, thanks so much for being here. And would love to just have you kick it off with the elevator pitch for what EDUrain does, basically.
Well, I'm first gonna say it's called EDUrain. EDUrain.
Oh, okay.
And that's fine. You got my first name right. Usually people call me Byron, so you got one of the two. It's Bryon Pierson, right? So here's what I'm gonna say. For college-bound students who can or struggle to secure financial aid, scholarships, and off-campus housing options, EDUrain provides a platform which eliminates all of these financial obstacles to higher education. With EDUrain, more students will have unprecedented financial access, allowing them to attend college while minimizing debt off one platform. There's no other one-stop shop for financial solutions for college-bound students before and during college like EDUrain. And like high level, we say think Priceline, Expedia for college-bound students. Just like Priceline and Expedia aggregates air, hotel, and car rental marketplace, EDUrain is a marketplace for financial aid, scholarships, and off-campus housing loan gaps.
So thanks for the pitch. Can you provide a little clarity around? So if, I guess the example would be, if I'm a student and I'm looking to get some FAFSA money, I'm going to you to help with navigate that process. Is that how it works?
So yeah, there's some steps in here, right? You got to file your FAFSA, which is the federal application for student aid. Without EDUrain, the first time takes 45 minutes to an hour. EDUrain cuts that down to 5 minutes. All you got to do is take a picture of your taxes, and we upload that to your FAFSA, and all you got to do is go in and review it and hit submit. Then we have a database of over 20,000 scholarships. And we use your FAFSA information. We ask you a couple other questions, and we match you to those 20,000 scholarships. Then you want to move off campus at the end of your first or second year of college, but you don't have the cash in hand to pay for first and second deposit. But you have governmental loans coming in the fall. We'll work with your bank, your financial aid office, and a private lender that we have, and we'll front you your fall financial aid at a 0% rate, and we'll invest that money to your leasing agency or landlord. And when your money comes in the fall, we're ACH into your student checking account. We get our money back, and your credit goes up.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's there's a little bit of trickiness on how some of the educational stuff works and financing. So I want to make sure that we were able to clarify some of that. So thanks for doing that. So can you? So did EDUrain? What did it look like? I'm assuming that it doesn't look the same as it does today as it did when you first started. And when did you start EDUrain?
No.
So a resounding no. Okay. Yeah. When did you start it?
So EDUrain is technically my third venture. It all started as like a research project in college. I was looking at how to enroll and maintain minority students in higher education. And I had no idea how to make money at that time, but I had this giant research project. I was lecturing across different college campuses, trying to get into undergraduate research journals. I actually got third place in my senior assignment cohort at my college for my research. I looked at 330 colleges across 12 different states, across 18 different unique indicators. I was trying to create this like video game at first. There's like drag performing fighting mobile game that was going to drum up like, interest and people playing it. And then the money from that, some of our profits was going to go to scholarships for students. But I was like, where did we got off track somehow? And because I looked back and I was like, okay, so I have like these designers, have some video game people, but I was like, I don't have the higher ed folks no more. It just didn't make sense. But I was like, I have all these developers now though. And I have like this like tech ecosystem. And actually, it's funny that Bonnie is here. I actually got into the iCourse program over at WashU that Bonnie actually, got me into. And, I was like, what can we actually do? And that I recruited one of my friends that was a high school teacher. I recruited one of my friends, Nehemiah, who is a developer. And we just did that class together. And I was more interested on, okay, we got all this data. We have all these people. And I know a lot of people because I'm the guy that will run with a bunch of paperwork and ask a bunch of questions. And from there, we just kept asking. And then we went to this college ranking system that was for minority students. But then we realized that we'll be more playing into like the hegemon of like higher education more. And I'm sorry, I just used like a term that that's really, we're playing into the game of higher education and we wasn't actually helping students. And so we kept workshopping, what can we do? What can we do? Then we looked at the pain points. And then as we looked at the pain points, we looked at what similar businesses in the space were doing. And then we started to look at, okay, what is the student actually life cycle and journey? And I interviewed over 3,000 people on that. And from there, Bonnie actually in the iCourse program actually got me started out in 2019. I always tell people I did 8 programs. I did 7 entrepreneurial training programs and 1 tech training program. And the entrepreneurial training programs, I actually think it got me ready for the tech training program. Because here's why. I got taught how to ask questions, work with people, present, manage, and do those things. And then the tech training program, it was like, oh, okay, IT, certificate from Empower. This is great. But here's the great thing about Empower. They gave me an internship at what was called a college access organization, which I had no idea those things existed. And this at a national college access organization that has 12 different sites across America. And this is like late 2019. So, I'm just thinking to myself, when they picked up my resume and called me because Empower sends out a resume because they paid for us to be there, I was like, do they know what I'm trying to sell them? Do they? And then from there, they hired me and they was like, Bryon, we think you're great. Let's just see how you fit in here. And they, as a program evaluator at Boys Hope Girls Hope was the name of the organization. I got to see all the data across the whole organization, clean it up. I got to be in real call on, and I was on the national team. So I got to look at from the national level and from the affiliate level. And then understanding our product, that just gave me industry expertise. And they actually, I had many conversations with them about what we're doing. And they actually helped us. They helped us with our Arts Trans last round as well. Boys Hope, Girls Hope. And they actually agreed to use our platform as we launch it. So that's pretty much the journey. Those 3,000 conversations, doing those entrepreneurial training programs, and understanding what the student needed, and I just listened to them. Also, my Empower recruiter that recruited me, she also used to be a missions officer for Rankin University, and me and her are friends, and she's actually one of our advisors now, and she helps me with a lot of questions as well and thoughts that I have.
So if you were to look back now, based on how you started it versus how you would maybe start it today, what would be the first thing you would start doing today with the new startup versus how you were doing gaming and you're a little all over the place before? What's like one of the biggest takeaways from that whole experience you've had over the last couple of years?
I would have been as excited as I was when I first meet people. That's like the first thing. Two, I think that one of the things that I did wrong is that I came up with a product idea first instead of coming at to what the actual problems were. And it's frustrating to come back to the problems because you want to be so product focused, you want to get a product out, but if you don't actually look at the fundamental problem, then you're not actually solving anything. And actually, that's what actually is pushing us over competitors. That's why there are people that have raised millions of dollars and are doing things in our space, but they don't have scalable models. They're charging kids stuff that they don't think they should pay for. And that's why we actually fit really well. And, I can, I'm really, that makes me excited because I'm just like, yes, they've raised $5 million, but look at their reviews. Look at the parents that use that. Look at how many people are repeat users of that platform. So, and out of the 3,000 conversations, 100% of the people said the platform that EDUrain is building should be built just like the way EDUrain is building it. And using the I-Corp method, walking them back without telling them what the platform was.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really great. I mean, that's the thing I hear all the time. And we had interviewed another entrepreneur, last week, Akeem Shannon, who is on Shark Tank for this first product called Flipstick. And he said that it's a very similar thing. He's like, people get so focused on product and they get distracted by all the things that their product can do that they tend to forget that you're trying to sell something. And so, and it needs to be functioning and achieve, there needs to be a value traded off to the end user. And no matter how many times I think that's said, it's still a struggle for people to do that. And I've fallen into that trap myself too. You get so excited about something, and you don't take some of that into account. So I'm really glad to hear that's another conclusion that you came to as well. So I want to make sure that people who are listening, who are aspiring entrepreneurs, just get that beat over the head by that idea that talk to your customers often.
And also for me, I have a degree in political science with a minor in psychology. I'm a long-winded data person. I want to tell you the whole story. And so like the introduction on like the business model canvas and like my mentors, that was actually one of the hardest things for me. It's like, I want to tell you, I don't know if Tyler remember this. I remember I used to have a bag of like paperwork, and now, right. And now
I remember.
Yeah. Right. And now like, that's, I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. But also that same kind of drive that got me, how many 15, 20-minute conversations I had with professors at every university across the greater St. Louis area that they thought were 15, 20-minute conversations that were going nowhere, but I was jotting that down and making professors have the same conversation, and they didn't even realize they were a part of a big overarching conversation. And like, that was the thing, like, because I didn't look so, suited up. I didn't look so like higher ed person. I didn't look so, tech oriented. Everybody's guard was down on what they were actually having a conversation with, because, it's not going to get back to administration. That, if you tell me something about your school you don't like, nobody's going to know about it. And it's actually going to be a product built around that experience. There's some admissions offices and financial aid offices has been starting to say now, Bryon, we should be doing what you're doing. I'm like, well, if you want to go through that pain and heartache of like, doing all this and going broke and going homeless, trying to figure all this out a couple years ago, y'all can do exactly what I did.
So can we pry on that? Can I pry on that a little bit? So you're funding this whole thing. You funded this whole thing yourself up to this point. Is that accurate?
I've actually raised $45,000 from outside, from friends and family.
Got it. Did I hear you right? You were homeless during a point of the growth of this project?
Yes. So when I graduated college in 2018, I like lost everything. I had nothing. I didn't have any money. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. All I had was just a bunch of paperwork. So this is like the thing that I'm like, I wish I kind of didn't have, but like, I was like, somehow what I'm doing is going to make it all work. And all I need to do is find the right people, the right organizations, and the right people to partner with to be able to make this happen. And I literally, and like, there's people like, you don't know enough people, you don't have the network, you're just some kid, you're just some guy. And I was like, you know what? I got this bag of paperwork if we want to have a conversation, and I bet we can turn this into something. And yes, I went homeless because there was no real business plan and there was no real thing to jump onto. But I had a buddy that was like, Bryon, to sleep on my couch, here in St. Louis. I didn't have a car at that time. I got a car now. And like I used to just take like the bus and the metro to like T-Rex to Venture Cafe. And that's how I started to understand and learn and actually be able to work. And then I got, a job waiting tables downtown. I still wait tables downtown at Arrowboro Local downtown, which is like a 2 streets over from T-Rex actually. And that's really that gave me that foundation of like rooting myself in the community to be here and live here and to be able to understand what we actually need.
Yeah. So you really did, like, you had to like really feel yourself out on how to get and navigate through the ecosystem to learn how to do it all from scratch, really. And I mean, besides what you mentioned, iCore, before that, there was no formal background or training. So you were kind of learning in real time and experimenting. And then it just got better and better at learning how to learn and how to experiment to get to where you are now. It sounds like.
I think the reason why these programs actually took me in is because I did so much research on my industry. It's easier to bring somebody that has research on the industry and help them create a business than have somebody that has like business skill and trying to get into an industry they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely had the expertise, because when we talked, you were way over my head on all the information you had. So you definitely, I mean, yeah, kudos to you you did a lot of groundwork. And I think that obviously, yeah, like you said, I think that helped quite a bit. You can make up for, you can learn some of the entrepreneurial stuff, right? I don't know. It's debatable, I guess, if you can learn the grit and the hustle. I think everyone can if they really care enough. But you also already had that, so you had a couple legs up there, and then you were just kind of like brute force working your way through to make this thing work.
Well, and I think also being a former foster care kid, and being I was a college wrestler for 2 years, so I wrestled in high school. I always had to, in foster care, for me personally, I always had to be selling myself to my foster care family, saying that, oh, I'm good. I'm a good kid. I deserve to be here, that kind of thing. Because I was scared to be kicked out because, each foster care home I stayed at for about somewhere between 6 months to 9 months. And I stayed the longest out of every kid at every one of those homes. They just didn't want to do long-term care. But I'm also happy that they gave me the chance to do a full school year with them. So, because, I ran away from home when I was 15, and I put myself into the foster care system. So, that put into me, I think, some grit, because I was on my own, and my caseworker told me, and my family members that told me as I was doing this, Bryon, you're going to be on your own. You're going to have to make it your own way. And it's going to have to be uniquely you, because you're not going to have the same background as anybody else that you're working with. And also, and that's why I feel like, whenever I talk to the CEO or director of like these huge organizations, that are helping students, and they're just like, there's some people like, well, why do you feel like that you're on the same level as us? And I'm like, because I come from the population that you think you're trying to help. And I know how to do it better because I understand the seat that they're sitting in and the problems that they're having. And, there's sometimes that these organizations, they do things that they want to do good, but sometimes it's just missing sometimes the nail on the head of what's the actual mentality of the kid.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure. This is a Venture Cafe Live first. Yes.
Oh, all right. Never mind. I'll wait to the end.
No. You got to do it now.
Well, I remember when Bryon came into the class, and he was actually enrolled at the same time in one over at another location. And he came in with a lot of knowledge, and he had this sales approach. And what he had said earlier was very important, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, that they need to ask the questions about what the problem is and truly understand where their idea might fit, but not to force their idea onto someone. really to
Right.
find out who they are, what makes them tick, what problems they have in their day. What is it that I can bring? What can Bryon bring and his ideas to them? And I think that was one of the things I really enjoyed seeing about Bryon and how he grew. And it was just 4 weeks program, but he was amazing and his team was amazing.
And Bonnie, you're with you helped Bryon and were part of the S&T I-Core team, or?
Yeah, he took the class at WashU. We have a WashU cohort now with
Got
Mike
it.
Sieper, but he was the
Gotcha.
first WashU cohort we had.
Oh, excellent. Very cool. Well, yeah. Well, thank you for
Right,
sharing that. I really
right.
appreciate that.
Yes, I'm actually I don't remember if it was you or Misty that said at the end I was pivoting towards the FAFSA, and somebody said, go help out every student that's going to fill out the FAFSA, and that was like the first. Here's the stake in the sand, but we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we monetize that? And then we realized that's not the thing that you monetize in this journey.
That's right.
A
lot of pivots, a lot of learning.
We could talk about what we sell. I haven't told you what we sell, but I could tell you. I think that's a good segue. Through the admissions, through kids doing the FAFSA and scholarship process, we sell their profiles to colleges. So let's say, and the story we tell is, let's say we got a male student that, that's Black, that has a 3.2, that's, and he's trying to go into nursing. And we know that, and then, let's say he's Catholic too. And we know he's Catholic because due to his scholarship search. We know the other stuff due to his FAFSA process. St. Louis University wants to buy that student's profile at $5 a piece because they're trying to recruit males into nursing. They're trying to recruit Black males to their school. And they're trying to recruit the GPA requirements. And they're trying to recruit Catholic students. And remember, the platform is free to the students. Then also on the off-campus housing side, we charge $150 out of your financial aid itself, money that never comes out of pocket, and we split that with our lender. And then we also we sell renters insurance. We have a partnership with a insurance company where kids get a quote on our platform. We get $15, and we're also looking to work with a big background check service so kids can get their background checks done through us as well. And these are just partnerships. These are not huge technical lists from us. Our technical list with the FAFSA and scholarships. All the rest of the stuff are integrations.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you explained that. So with the last few minutes we have here, because we like to, do the live session and then turn it back over to off live for just, live Q&A for people who came through the Venture Cafe website. But the last thing I guess I wanted to ask is, you were just recently announced that you're part of the Impact Ventures cohort down in Texas. What is your next step though? What's your next step for you as a company? Are you raising another round? Are you trying to meet angels? Are you, I know you also mentioned that you've got revenue now, which is terrific. So what are you looking for from the St. Louis community at this point?
So we are raising $500,000. And we do have a convertible note that we can put that into, but I'm not breaking SEC standards saying that. So that's very important. But we are pitching all the time. I'm pitching angel groups, angels, LinkedIn hack, type in angel investor or angel, and all the angel investors will show up. And do the same thing on Twitter. And then you kind of run into the people who are angel scouts too, though, and you got to kind of weed that out. But also you got to play that understanding being an empath, and understanding that they're there to help you, and that they're not just like this peon person. They're actually a real person that is really trying to help angels make deals. So you have to treat them respect because they can help you out as well. I'm going to go through the Arch grants again. We made it to the top 75 last time. So, and they were confused about our off-campus housing program. And that's why we did all this work on our off-campus housing. And we actually pivoted to that because in our Arch grants feedback, there was like, man, this is one of the most unique things about it. And so we looked at it and we went back to our mentors and our advisors and we said, how do we align this? And that's when things started happening. That's why Impact Ventures wanted us, is because we aligned the things that Arch grants wanted us to align to. And so we're going to go back this time and see if we get it. And the great thing about Arch grants, we're going to get $50,000 from a grant, and we raised $45,000 because we didn't get it. because the people that are helping us write it, the people that are working with us, they believed in it so much. They was like, you know what? Arch Grants is Arch Grants, but we are who we are, and we love this, and we want to work with you.
Yeah, that's great. So you're taking feedback from every time you're submitting these things, and and honing your business and your pitch and everything. So that's terrific.
Yeah, I used to be a person that sent a bunch of chain emails out to people I've worked with. I'm trying to get better about that. I haven't sent one out lately.
That's good. I mean, you're getting more targeted and just refining with every kind of like pass through, which is the way you do it. And if you're not embarrassed, I think by the stuff you did 6 months ago, you're probably not learning fast enough. So I think you're doing great work on iterating and improving.
And here's one thing that I also want to say. So we have about 45 accounts on our platform right now. And I think about 25 to 30 of them are people that came into the restaurant I wait tables at. And I said, hey, you should, I asked them throughout the meal, the 20, 30 minutes I have with them, do they have kids? Are they in college? Are they struggling? And then they tell me, and I'm like, I got this free platform for you.
Man, that's actually kind of brilliant because everyone's got kids at that age. Is probably like, yeah, there's some sort of struggle happening, right? So that's brilliant. Any closing thoughts before we take this off live? You mentioned the talking to customers first. You gave a little hack about getting angels on LinkedIn. Is there anything else that you want to leave for other aspiring entrepreneurs?
I think that one thing is, I would say be humble. I think that's one thing that I've always been. And I think that's one thing that keeps people interacting with me. You'll never hear me say, I'm the greatest guy in the land. What you hear me say is like, look, I got this idea. I want to help people. And this is how I want to help people. Can you put input into that? And that, right? And also, it has to be a two-way street, right? There's people that are entrepreneurs of successful things, right? That, that they want to ask me questions and ask me thoughts. And I give them my time of day. Sometimes there's usually entrepreneurs just take and they don't think about giving back at the same time. For one example, like, Akeem, right? Akeem is one of my friends. So I got LGBT Influence of the Year. And one of the people that came with me was Akeem. And great guy, great. I'm super happy he wanted Shark Tank investment, because I remember he would just walk around putting flipstick on my phone and on people's phones. He was like, oh, your flipstick is dirty. Let me turn it off. We'll put it back on there. And so that's that understanding that you need to give and also get at the same time. And I was telling him about how one of the first things I was telling him about how working with colleges. And in his video, he worked with Harris Stowe, so he actually took that advice.
That's awesome. How many times were you told no by different investors and partners?
About 135.
Okay, 130. That's pretty precise. So, and I think that's par for the course, right? I mean, another thing I want aspiring people, entrepreneurs especially, to understand is that like you're going to be told no a lot, and if that's going to affect the way that you pursue your startup, that's a problem, right? And so. That's why I wanted to have you on here, because I know that you've pivoted a few times and you're a pretty resilient person, and so I appreciate that. I think that's a really good skill for entrepreneurs. So I think so. Bryon, thanks so much for coming on here. I really appreciate that, and best of luck with the venture, and keep on going. I really keep up the good work. So
yeah, thank y'all so much for having me.
All right. Thanks. I'm going to turn this live stream off. And for everyone else, we'll see you